Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
My name is Sarh Kelly-Palmer.
And I'm Kayla David.
It's nice to see you all again. For those of you who are joining us for the very first time, Kayla and I are part of the healing department at Family Service of Rhode Island, and we're joining you weekly here on Facebook and YouTube as part of our Be Well RI information series. And that's where we discuss various topics about how we are all coping with this COVID-19 crisis. Also, for those of you who don't know, Family Service of Rhode Island is a social service agency, and we've been serving Rhode Islanders for over 125 years. And currently, we offer a variety of services, including telehealth counseling. Now more than ever, we really need to be focusing on our own mental health just as much as our physical health. And we want to let you know that Family Service is here to help with that.
We will be joining together every Wednesday at 10 a.m. for discussions that support wellness during COVID-19. So please take a moment to share this with your friends or to even start a watch party. Help us reach as many as we can to share important information about being well during COVID-19. Today, we are very, very excited to be talking about artistic expression, ways to express the things that we don't have words for. People have been relying on the arts to communicate, to express themselves, and to heal for thousands of years. Now more than ever, with all the increased stress that we're under and everything being so unpredictable, we can have really big emotions that no one word can seem to encapsulate.
Our guest today is Jeff Sparr. Jeff is an artist, he is a mental health advocate, and he is also co-founder of PeaceLove Studios. Welcome, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Yeah, good morning. How's everybody doing?
Great.
Good.
We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Jeff, PeaceLove has really made a huge impact on our organization at Family Service of Rhode Island. And I know it's made an impact throughout the Rhode Island community and really beyond. Can you share with us a little bit about PeaceLove, what it is, and how it came about?
Sure. Happy to partner with you guys to help so many folks here in Rhode Island, as you said in the opening, where the need has obviously never been more. And I'll give you a quick, backstory to give some context. I think, and the interesting thing I think about, my story is that I could be anybody. Similar to the cause that, our organizations dedicated their life to. I'm from Rhode Island. I went to Moses Brown, was a tennis player. I was recruited by Ohio State University, went there on tennis scholarship. And, I was 20 years old and living my dream of playing Division I, tennis. And meanwhile, my mind was being overtaken by these, terrible, obtrusive thoughts that I was, powerless to fight. And, I was scared, alone, thought I was going crazy and had no one to talk to. I couldn't talk to my teammates. They'd think I was crazy. Couldn't talk to my coach, probably bench me, couldn't talk to, didn't want to burden my parents. They worried enough. It was the mid 1980s. There were no mental health services available on college campuses. So I did what any good athlete would do. I sucked it up. I got worse. Came home to Rhode Island, and by the time I was 22, basically thought I was losing my mind. But fortunately, I had the courage. I found my way to Butler Hospital and was diagnosed with OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. And, I've fought a debilitating illness now for, 30 some odd years. But I'm here this morning, proudly to tell you one of the lucky ones. Through medication, exposure therapy, a loving family, support network, been able to have a wonderful life. And it all looks good on the outside, but fighting a very difficult, battle, many years looking for, the secret potion to get better, which doesn't exist. The rest of my story, you can't make up. I'm coming home from work one day and somebody tells me that, painting might be good for me. I never painted a day in my life, but when you're desperate, you'll try anything. So I rerouted, went to the art supply store, and came home to my apartment, and you're kind of looking at the Forrest Gump of painting right here. I never stopped. I mean, it literally changed the course of my life. It gave me a sense of control that I think all mental illnesses can rob you of. It was invigorating to my soul. I was able to communicate, through images what I couldn't in words. And last, I was pretty good at it. which led to yet another improbable chapter in my life of, people collecting my work and it finding its way, the galleries, collections, the Grammys, all kinds of, silly stuff. And people wanted to buy my artwork and I just gave it to people for the most part. And enter my co-founder, Matt Kaplan, who had a little marketing company. He told me that was not a good business proposition for my art career. So he offered to be my agent. Again, sounds kind of ridiculous. Had a one-man show for me. Came up to me at night, told me we sold $16,000 of art.
Wow.
And he said, "What do you want to do with the money?" And I had the moment that, would kind of change my life. I said to him, I paint. It makes me feel good. I said, maybe it helps somebody else. 2 weeks later, I showed up, in the children's psychiatric unit at a hospital that I was a board member of and a patient. And, I stumbled, on this thing, I found something that was kind of part motivational, part inspirational, part you can do it, kind of all wrapped in this message of hope and community. And, blew through 16 grand, going anywhere we could. And then, got this crazy idea that, maybe, we could develop expressive arts programming someday that we could, help millions of people across the country and the globe find some peace of mind, just like me. So we started 10 years ago and, super proud and humbled today to have a program that is impacting, people in all types of communities all over the country and now the world. So.
Jeff, that is such an inspiring story. And I think, we started partnering several years ago, Family Service and PeaceLove, and it has been phenomenal to witness families really kind of engage in expressive arts, our therapists engage in expressive arts, to use it alongside some of our other treatments and really see the, that moment where people find that kind of that peace, right, that comes with kind of expressing or using art.
Yeah, well,
sorry. Go on.
No. I was just going to say I was intrigued from the outset that look, creativity can be life changing. I'm living proof of it, right? But in all forms, I probably wouldn't be on your show today if I sang. Today PeaceLove embraces all the artistic forms, sound, movement, visual arts. I tell people I don't care what you do, whether it's gardening, cooking, poetry, singing, creativity, can be life-changing. The problem that we've got, it's the first thing taken away basically in every community. So, my thought might not be the smartest guy in the world, but I always thought that you can have the best thing. And if you can't get it to people, you can't help them. So that's always been our goal, is to try to make these tools accessible and approachable so that people can actually, take advantage of them,
Yeah. Well, and that's been a huge issue, right? That fine arts or art that kind of hangs in museums is so inaccessible. Can you speak a little bit to the difference between kind of fine arts and then the idea of expressive arts?
Yeah, I mean, in its simplest form, expressive arts is it's not about the finished product. It's simply about the process. Just the act of doing, and and what that feels like, and how that makes you feel. And at the end of every one of our programs, someone can share, they can't share, they can throw it in the garbage, doesn't matter. I think, people think of art and sometimes they're scared of it. Just the act of creating is art. And, I used to have some fun in the early days. I could take a painting of anybody in one of our classes. I could take one painting from you guys that you did and give it a cool name, and people would say, wow, that's cool. Maybe want to buy it, So.
Yeah, and I think, Jeff, that relates to this idea of, I think what we've seen, I've done, I think almost all of the PeaceLove expressive arts groups that we have offered at Family Service, and you see people really, like you say, are a little scared to engage because you hear people say, well, I'm not an artist, I'm not good at art. And I think your message is also so powerful in that you don't really need that professional training, right, to use art as an expressive medium. Right. Yeah. What do you say to people who say, well, I'm not an artist. I can't do that.
I mean, on the back end of my story, which is, as you heard, fairly improbable, I tell people that, if I can do it, anybody can do it, living proof. Right. And, the thing that, doing a lot of these types of shows these days where the need is so much, I get asked most of the time the same question, right? The most asked question I get, no matter what the community is what can I do?
Mm,
That's what people want to know. So many people that are, struggling and with all these challenges right now, and what can we do? And my answer is always the same. I tell people to focus on what they can do versus what they can't do.
got it.
I have a terrible illness that takes my mind away, that I can't control the attacks. So what I choose to do is focus on what I can control.
Yeah.
And I can choose to exercise. I can choose to journal. I can choose to meditate. I can choose to do yoga. I can choose to paint. All things that I probably do before most people wake up in the morning, out of necessity.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in this day and age, never more, I think it's critical that people gravitate instead of feeling helpless. I think it's never been more important that they embrace things that they can do.
Yeah. That's such a huge part of the message right now, Jeff, right? It's that idea of what is in our control when there's so many things that are unpredictable or out of our control. We can't control this virus. We can't control the kind of need to stay in our homes. We might not totally be able to control some of the stress or the worry that we're under, but what is in our control? And that's a huge kind of part of what brought Sarah and I to doing these live sessions, is kind of giving people that idea of here's some information and maybe some things to try. And one of the things that I think is so great is that you come to this with your story and you say, I'm a family man. I have children. I'm doing this with my children too, because so many of our parents, I think, will say, I want to do meditation, but my kids don't want to. Or how do I bring this to my children in a way that they'll understand it or engage in it? And I have so many families that say, okay, my kid will sit for 2 seconds to do something, and then I need another activity and another activity. And by the end of the day, they've done potentially 100 activities, and they're tired and they're not sure if anything has been helpful. So can you speak a little bit to being a father and how you engage in art as a family, and how you've seen kind of the benefit of creating with your children and with your partner?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, obviously, and never, more applicable now than we're homebound, with our families. And, my children are teenagers right now, which have different new dynamics. They've seen their dad, do this, while they were growing up. So I've had that experience as well. But, I think one of the things, obviously, family has never been more important, in this, with what's going on. And, I've always said that, mental health and mental illness is the family plan, right? It impacts, everybody connected to it. So, and I think that in the same vein, the creativity is an opportunity to help the family. And, I've always been, I talk about PeaceLove and what we do and what you see in some of those workshops. Obviously, it's very intentional, and there's a reason it works. For me, it's always been the kind of secret sauce, the magic potion. But where I'm always most amazed is what happens in a family and the dynamics. And, especially today, and, with these devices and, electronics and computers and PlayStation and, you name it, we're competing for our kids, time.
Mm-hmm.
And, when I see families create, I'm not sure who's getting more, whether it's the children or the parents. It's a two-way communication, which is beautiful. So it can be a way for families to talk. When this whole thing went down, PeaceLove is aggressively over the last couple of months created virtual workshops, which will be soft launching to the world here in a couple of weeks. And it's been an incredible thing to sit back and watch. So that, now what we do will be available to millions of people. But I remember sitting in on the first virtual workshop, the beta test that we did, and I did it with my family. And we gathered around the dining room table, didn't know what to expect, right? And my wife and I, when we're done, we looked at each other and said, wow, that's first time we've sat as a family in 5 weeks, and listened and talked as a family and laughed, and all it took was sitting in front of this screen and someone facilitating a session that gave us that opportunity. And so it seems simple, but it is, we got to get people to do it.
And I think, Jeff, this is so pertinent to all the time, I think, but especially now in the midst of COVID-19, but also May is Mental Health Month, right? And you are such an advocate for mental health and wellness, and really that's what PeaceLove is all about, that creating peace of mind. And today and always, you're just so open with your story and how impactful art has been on your own journey. And I think you've talked a lot about this connection between art and mental wellness. What would you say to others who are struggling and who maybe never have engaged in artistic activities or expression as a coping mechanism?
I mean, quick story and then maybe some advice.
Yeah.
I had many years ago, I had a very famous artist that I was painting with, and I've had the pleasure over 10 years of painting with thousands, if not more, maybe. God even knows people, but this very famous artist, and we're getting started. And he asked me, he said, "You know what I'm scared of most?" And I said, "No." And he held up, he held up a blank canvas, which kind of struck me, right? And he went on to explain that the hardest thing to do is to start. And I never forgot that. And I know for me in my journey, sometimes making that first stroke is the hardest thing. And, a lot of people in life, won't do what they want to do, what they dream about doing, what they're capable of doing, because they're scared to start and try. So my advice always is start, and try. It seems simple, but that's what I would tell people. And, for people that are listening out there, again, I paint and, get out in the garden, when you cook tonight, or you're singing, you write a poem or journal. I mean, unfortunately, people don't think of themselves as creatives. Right. I don't think most people even know what creativity is. It's not what you see in the museums and all that stuff. It's the essence of, letting ourselves go and making ourselves, vulnerable, so that, hopefully we can find, some courage and strength to just be. Yeah.
Well, Jeff, one of the things that really struck me when you were talking about engaging in art as a family is, I get the question a lot of every day my kid comes home from school, and maybe that's not happening right now, but they come out of their classroom at home. And the question inevitably goes to, how was today, right? Or how was your day? And that then you get a kid that says, okay, right? And then there's no kind of follow-up.
That's more than I get.
Yeah, there's no follow-up. Yeah. And I've so many times been sitting with parents that really want a more authentic experience with their kids, or do feel like, I don't know how to engage my child in a way that gets us talking more than the okay or just the shrug and walk up the stairs. And so you actually had offered to us, and we're so excited about this, to show us an example of how families could do some of that expressive arts. And so I'm very excited for this simple activity, because we had asked you, okay, if we weren't artists and we had nothing but what would be in a typical family home, what could we do to engage in expressive art? So what is your plan for us today? What are you teaching us today, Jeff?
All right. Well, I have plans for you guys. So obviously you can see I'm in my home studio in my basement, but today, all I've got is a piece of a pad and a pencil, and that will do. So for anybody that's out there, whatever you got, grab it, and you can use that. So I thought what we'd do is, PeaceLove started with this its origin was this very simple notion of, finding peace of mind and love for yourself. And, I had painted that PeaceLove symbol I saw up on the screen before, which is the combination of those two icons. And, for me, very, very personal when I painted it. Peace of mind was something I was so desperate for in my life. And, if you ask me what gives me peace of mind, the answer might not be what you think it is, not something big and elaborate. It'll be something as simple as, having a cup of coffee, with my wife, throwing the ball around with my boys, maybe reading a book with my daughter without this obtrusive stuff running through my head. It's the little moments in life that we get robbed of. So, for a moment, I thought everybody would just hit the pause button, stop, and maybe give some consideration as to what really gives them some peace of mind in their lives. The answer might surprise you. So, and what I do, as always, the easiest way for me to do it is to paint it. So I'm going to put the screen down here a little and let you guys watch me, show you what gives me peace of mind. So here we go. If you can you see that pad?
Yes,
we can.
Okay. Well, here we go. I work pretty quickly, and I'm using a pencil right now, and pretty quick it'll be apparent to you what gives me peace of mind. This is myself, and you can see I've got my legs crossed and look like pretty cool. And one of the things I like about creating is sometimes you can create what you want to be. And, this guy's cool, relaxed, calm, everything I wish I was. All right. The next one up is my wife. And I'm going to cross her arms because she deserves a medal for her patience with all of us. And the next up is my oldest son, Harry, a big golfer. Goes to Ole Miss, and you can see he's tall, really tall. Nobody knows how that happened. And then my daughter, who's at Ohio State, she's a bundle of energy. I'm going to put her arms up, and then my youngest Grayson, who also is about 6 feet tall already, a big baseball, player. He'll appreciate this. He's been working in the gym a lot in the house, so I'm going to give him big muscles. Because in case he watches this, then I get him fired up. And then the next thing I'm going to do is, and you might be able to see that the pencils I use are a special pencil that's a watercolor activated pencil. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over some of my outlines. You can see what I'm doing here.
Oh, and that's just water, Jeff, right?
Yep, that's water, and what it does, it activates the pencil. And one of the big things about my art, there's two things that are kind of my trademark, if you will. One of them is, you'll notice all my characters are faceless. Everybody assumes that's because I'm deep and or community and all this stuff, but the truth is I just can't paint the face. But the other thing that you'll see now, and if you use it at home, watch, I take a towel or a paper cloth or something, and what I'll do now is activate that, and you'll see I'm able to create motion.
Oh, wow.
And I tell people the key to this is actually making noise. You got to go. So
that's awesome.
Anyway, so you might have guessed from this picture that at the end of the day, what gives me peace of mind is just this, my family.
Beautiful.
The last thing I tell people all the time is, sign with pride. I'll let you know a little secret. You know who my favorite artist is?
Tell us.
My favorite artist is me.
Oh,
that's so beautiful.
If you don't like your own stuff, guess what? Nobody's gonna like it.
I love it.
Hopefully, there's a lesson in that too. So, but obviously, just have a few minutes. But I encourage people. Try to find some peace of mind. Just through creating and stop and think about it, especially in these days where we have more time than we care to, or maybe we're reevaluating really what's important in life, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
And for anyone that's watching or listening, please let us know what brings you peace of mind and share that, because I think sometimes it's those moments that we hear from other people that we're like, oh yeah, that's really what hits home for me, or maybe I do need to do that more. I know for me, I have this tiny little room that gets all of the sun in my house. That's kind of got a ton of windows, and I put all of my house plants out there. And then every day I get to come home to this little jungle that I've created in my house. And the minute I open the door, both of my cats walk in there, my dog walks in there, and it's just like this this like beautiful moment of kind of peace or serenity. And so I think like for everyone it's different, but like you said, Jeff, it's not those kind of big moments. It's not these elaborate things. It's usually not something that costs a ton of money. It's these kind of these pieces of our lives where we do get to just kind of stop and breathe and feel at peace with what's around us. So I hope that everyone can share in the comment section a little bit about what brings them peace of mind.
Well said.
And Jeff, that was so beautiful. And I think it's such a good reminder to all of us that, engaging together in artistic expression can be as simple as sitting down and drawing a picture of your family, right? So I could even see me doing that tonight with my husband and my son. Because one thing that gives me peace of mind is when we all have dinner at the end of the day together. That's one of my favorite times of the day. But I could see us doing that tonight after dinner. And that's such a simple but powerful expression and activity. So I'm looking forward to trying that out.
Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, well, Jeff, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure. We so appreciate you taking time out of your day to share this with us. We will be sharing additional resources and links so people know how to get to PeaceLove so they can connect with you in your organization. And I think I just want to challenge everybody out there to think about what gives you your peace of mind and engage in an artistic expressive activity today. So we look forward to seeing you all again next week. And if you have topics you'd like us to cover, please leave them in the comments. And Jeff, and to everybody at PeaceLove, thank you for all that you do. And thank you for joining us today.
And thank you. And thank you for the wonderful work that you guys are doing in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Be well and be safe.
Be safe.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.